Hi, this is Stacia, and I am going to show you the final round that I played at the Mass Turkey. Yeah, unfortunately, even though this is round 3 and it's a 4-round tournament, I actually received a bye on round 4. So I analyzed with 2 masters during the final round. So this is my last game. And yeah, this is a tough one for me to show you guys. I'm a little embarrassed about this one. Kind of a lot embarrassed. But that's okay. I think it's important to show my victories and my struggles. It's all part of the journey and part of the adventure in chess. So let's go ahead and look at this game. My opponent was Jason Z. I think a teenager, probably, 16 years old or so. He played d4. I went d5, and he played c4. And I took the pawn, and we have a Queen's Gambit Accepted. So I was curious what he would do here, and he did go e4. To me, this is the most principled move because, I mean, why even play c4 if you're not going to go e4? It's kind of how I feel, but theory has evolved over decades, of course. So I went b5 here, which looks funny, but this is my repertoire. Knight c3 and a6. Okay, so I don't have to sack a rook anymore because before I would sack a rook. Like if he went a4, I would go c6. If he takes here, I would go here. And if knight c3, I do play a6 here, allowing knight takes, rook takes. Then I play bishop b7, and yes, this is a real line. Sopiko Gurnashvili, Anashiri's wife, has a repertoire based on this as the main line. And of course, I love crazy chess, so I'm into it. I don't think I'm allowed to play this anymore, though, my coach said. But it's different, though, if instead of a4, they go knight c3 first, because we can go a6. And now it's a little bit different because he went a4. But now we have this option to go b4 and attack the knight. So yeah, this is different. So I don't have to sack my rook. So I was happy. All right, so knight d5 is what he played. Thought that was interesting. So what does the computer think about this? It thinks black's a little bit better after e6, which is what I played. Yeah, because I was like, this looks fine. So he played here, and I went knight to f6. So in these positions, you always want to consider, can I keep this pawn? But I don't think that I can here. There's a lot of guys on this. I'm not developed whatsoever. All my pieces are in the back row. So even my own students would yell at me, I think. So I decided to develop a piece, which is probably right. Let's see what the engine says. Yeah, wow. I thought about this move. It wants c3 as one of the top moves. So, which is a desperado, basically. Because we know we're going to lose this pawn, so we're like, hey, let's, disrupt white's development scheme. Because they would love to play bishop takes c4 and develop their bishop and take a pawn at the same time. But this move, that's pretty disruptive. Because now if you don't take this pawn now, I don't even know what they should do. Yeah, they can play bishop d3. This is what I would play if I was white, and then say, okay, Danish Gambit style, thank you. But black shouldn't even take. They should just ignore that and just play knight f6. But yeah, but also white could take here. And now, as you can see, it's not as simple to win the pawn back now, right? Like, it's just a little bit, actually, this is different. I don't want to lose this pawn. But it doesn't look easy to collect necessarily. Like if queen c2, yeah, I guess they can collect it, but they have to spend tempos to do so. Like if the queen takes, we would take here now. And if they push here, we move our knight, guarding it. And if they decide to take the knight, I mean, that's getting a little risky now because our queen is very well placed here. We can apply pressure here, and now it's hard for the light square bishop to develop. It actually, computer loves black here. Just fascinating. This is all fascinating. I never saw this idea before, to push the pawn. It occurred to me during the game though. But since I had never seen it before, I was like, oh, that's one of my silly ideas. I shouldn't do that. But it turns out it's not half bad. Okay, I might do it next time then. All right, but he went here. Knight f6 I played. That attacks a pawn. So he played f3. Now, when they play f3 like this, Ben Feingold, you know, has a sneeze attack somewhere out there. Because knight takes e4 sacrifices become possible. I'm not saying it works, but it's possible. And I see that the engine actually wants to play c5, which that would be very hard for me to play. I don't know about that one. Probably you have to calculate pretty far to see why that's good. With all my pieces on the back row, I don't want to play c5. But I guess one of the points is that if they take, we can trade queens. This is possible. Didn't even want to do that. It wants queen c7. Wow. Okay, this is crazy chess. I have no clue what's going on anymore. No clue. I guess black's better, but don't ask me why. I don't know. Okay, so my opponent played f3. I went bishop e7. Yeah, so okay, here's the problem with playing sacrifices. Sometimes they're good and sometimes they're not good. And if you don't calculate well, like me, you might sometimes play a bad sacrifice. That happens this game, so brace yourselves. I almost played it here, okay, but I thought, let's see if I can remember. I thought the problem was knight takes, pawn takes, queen check. And after g3 takes, yes, I'm attacking the rook and the knight, but I thought they had this nice move. Bishop to g2, and you know, that's horrible. This is actually guarded. I can't take that. And I have no checks that I can see. And that's a skewer, so I'm going to lose material here. So I didn't like that variation. So I was like, well, you know, what if I play bishop b7 first? Ooh, I'm so smart. You know, now when I sacrifice, if we do all this again, check, g3 takes, there's no bishop b2 because I'll take that and then I'll win the rook. So I thought there's no way to save the rook there. Maybe that's winning. So I was hoping my opponent would play a move that didn't really affect that. And that's what he did. Bishop takes c4. It's actually what I thought he would do. So I went for this. Knight takes c4, takes, queen check. And, you know, had he played g3, hint, hint, I think this is good for black. This looks really good. I'm attacking the rook. There's no way to save it. The bishop came out. There's no way to play that move I was afraid of. And yeah, black's actually winning here. Unfortunately for me, I saw that he could go king f1, and I just assumed that, I was like, well, if he goes king f1, like, I have compensation. I don't know how much, but I've got some compensation. Well, I need to be a little more precise than that when I sack a piece. Because he went king f1, and I mean, there's other moves, like king e2 is an option, king d2. Like, I mean, really, when we sack on e4 like this, we need to calculate all of these. You need to calculate g3, king f1, you know, king e2, king d2. You need to calculate all of them. I mean, that's what I really think. But I was just like, oh, if he moves his king, you know, that's fine. But he played king f1, and you know, I started to realize once I was here that I didn't have a lot of good options. The continuation seemed pretty iffy. But anyway, I'll show you what I did. I went queen takes e4. Now, that puts a lot of pressure here, which is nice. But if you start to look at white's options, this doesn't look so great. Like, for example, bishop d3 would attack my queen, so I don't like that. There's also knight f3, blocking this and getting his knight in. What else? I think those are the main ideas. Oh, queen f3 also. Also queen g4. All of these are resources for white to get out of trouble. So I was curious which one he would pick. He did go with queen f3. Now, if I trade queens, I think I'm just lost. So I don't think I can do that. Oh, wow, I did do that. That's kind of interesting. Well, I didn't want to do this and help him develop his knight. The computer actually says that's the best try. But the computer's dumb in positions like this. It really is. I mean, it calculates coldly and just says this is the best move. Because it assumes that white will make all good moves. But when you're worse, it pays to keep more play in the position for yourself. Objectively, it might not be correct, but practically, it is correct. So here, I played knight to d7. Completely forget why. I had an idea here. I thought taking the pawn was totally wrong. Oh yeah, because I lose my bishop. And then probably my rook. Because if I move my rook, it takes the knight with check. So I didn't like that. So I kind of thought my knight or my queen is pinned. So I didn't want to trade queens, but I kind of don't have a choice. So that's why I did this. I was like, okay, I'll develop. He did take, I took. All right. Now what is he going to do? I thought he might go knight f3, but if he does, you know, that's not the best pawn structure I've ever seen. That's a lot of weak pawns. And, well, maybe I'll have play. I think white's winning, though. I just don't have enough pieces or enough development, for that matter, to make problems for the king. So white will consolidate here. Knight d7, queen takes, bishop takes. So he went knight to h3. Probably not as good. Okay, and I had some crazy idea here. What was my crazy idea? Because I think, if you're worse or losing, you better have some kind of crazy idea. Otherwise, you're just going to lose slowly and painfully. So I played bishop e7, and I think this was the idea, to put the bishop on f6. And I thought, okay, if my bishop comes to f6, I'm eyeing a pawn. It kind of prevents this bishop from coming out because I might take here, and in addition to that, I might be able to play e5. I had some other ideas like knight b6. Okay, so bishop e7. It is listed by the engine in the top 3, so it's a good move. Yeah, and here he played d5. I actually did calculate d5 before I played bishop e7, a little bit at least. And I thought it was fine, and I had like a trap in mind here. So it's been maybe 3 weeks since I played the tournament, so let's see if we can remember my little trap. Okay, I thought knight b6. That attacks stuff, because I said so. Now I thought here, he might choose to take because, he can then take with f7 with check. So we have to calculate that. So knight to b6, pawn takes. Okay, I would definitely take the bishop. Now he could throw this in, enter mezzo. So that's check. Now I would take with the king. Now I have to watch it, right? Because this knight might come to g5 with check. So what I calculated, though, is my bishop on e7 guards that. So I did think king takes. And then after that, yeah, this was my trap. Then I thought, when the knight takes back after that, I actually have bishop d3 check. And that will win the knight. And then I'm back in business. So that was my little trap that I set. And you're not going to believe it, but he actually did do it. So I was pretty happy that I saw this. Takes. So he did this. Check here. I saw that my king's safe here. And then when he took, I plopped down bishop d3 check with great enthusiasm. And I think, maybe I'm even winning now. I don't know. I'm better. I think I'm better at least. So he went king f2. I'm going to take the knight, of course. And he went, oh, he didn't go king f2, sorry. He went king e1. Okay, I took. And he went bishop to f4. And now it's a matter of converting. But now my old friend came. Time pressure. So, I love to play crazy, interesting chess, but there's one downside to that. I'm calculating all these crazy sacrifices and lines and all this stuff, trying to set traps. Well, when you're playing a rapid game, you tend to use all your time up. So that kind of happened, and I was way behind on the clock. And unfortunately, this is still an interesting game here, I think. Check. King g3. Yeah, I did not know what to do here, to be honest. So I actually ended up losing this game. It's just tragic that I did that. And this is super embarrassing, but I think it's worth talking about. It's possible I was frazzled in these moments. And I literally was calculating, in a lot of lines, I was calculating, bishop b3. And I'm like, oh, bishop b3, I'll attack the pawn. That looks really hard to defend. Like, he'll have to bring his rook back if he wants to defend that. And then when we were playing and I was in time pressure, I just plopped this down to attack the pawn. So instead of bishop b3, I went here. And my opponent's just like, okay. He took my bishop. I mean, I've never done that before. Nothing like that's just like, I don't know what you call that. It's not a blunder. Like, what is that? It's just an oversight. I don't know what you call it. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of justice that I lost this game, quite honestly, because this sacrifice earlier is pretty ridiculous. Let's get back to it. Yeah, right here. I mean, the engine says like black's slightly better. So, I mean, there's no reason for me to go crazy here. And then I play this, and it's like +4 for white. But I was right that G3 is winning for black. Yeah, I was right about that. But problem is this. Yeah, now I'm losing. So I have a lot more respect for the king move than I used to. Which is good. I mean, that's Michael Jolson, my coach, says, if you see a sacrifice and you can't refute it over the board, play it. That's what he tells me to do. And that is what I did. Okay. And what happens is I might lose the game. Okay. But I gain valuable knowledge as a result. And I do have a lot more respect for the king move than I did before this game. I mean, it's not like I haven't seen this idea, but actually playing it out in a real tournament game and spending an hour in those positions trying to find traps. I mean, you don't forget that kind of thing when you suffer like that. So I do think that I am thankful for this game. And plus, it did allow me to set that trap, which, yeah, that check at the end. I did calculate all that. I actually did it right. So that was cool. But I didn't have enough time to win. I just completely fell apart. So that's unfortunate. So, so the Mass Turkey was a big disappointment in terms of results. I played much lower rated opposition, and I went 1 out of 3. So I lost, about 40 rating points, dropping from 1749 to 1710. And I think it did hurt my confidence, and I then had a complete bomb-out tournament at Parma on the following Tuesday where I dropped all 3 games, 2 to good players, but 1 to someone much lower rated. Maybe a good player, though, for all I know. Probably good. But that took me, back to 1653, which was pretty depressing. It even caused me to skip Parma the following week, but that's when I decided it was important to play training games because I was feeling so rusty at the board and so out of form. So that has been my one of my key tools in my arsenal to improve is to play 1 training game per day. So I have been doing that. Anyway, I know that I'm rambling, but I just wanted to share, my thoughts as I continue on this chess journey, which is super fun. It really is an adventure. So hope you enjoyed the chess, and I'll be back with more. Thank you so much. Bye.